Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of Philip the Brave. Last time, Philip and Youngbao were about to race down Gordon's Hill backwards when they heard this loud boom coming from Morgan's mine, and went to investigate it. Enjoy part 2 of Philip the Brave. Philip and Youngbao raced to Morgan's mine as fast as the wheels could take them. When they got there, they were greeted with a very dirty Jack who was covered in soot. "What happened?" asked Youngbao. "A rock fall collapsed at the bottom of mine, and Alfie and Kelly are trapped. I was just going for help." "It's okay, we can get them out," said Philip. "Have you ever been that deep before in Morgan's mine?" asked Jack, who was very worried for his friends. "Yes, I have, and I'm brave enough to go down there again," said Philip boldly. "Come on, Youngbao." Philip and Youngbao bravely chugged into the mine, and pretty soon were looking for the rock slide. They soon came to a trestle which stood high above a dark abyss. "I wonder how deep that is," said Youngbao nervously. Philip began to shake due to the intense height. "You okay, Philip?" I'm fine," shivered Philip. Just cold. I'm not scared at all." "Really? Because I am," admitted Youngbao. "You are?" said Philip, who was surprised by this. "Of course. How are you not scared?" Philip took a deep breath and said, "I'm terrified. I've never been deep into the mine. I only said that because I wanted to impress you." "But you have to be scared before you can be brave," said Youngbao kindly. "You do?" said Philip curiously. "Yes, courage is facing your fears in order to help someone," replied Youngbao. Just then they heard a cry of "Help!" coming from deeper into the mine. "What do you say we cross this trestle together?" said Philip boldly. "Let's do this," said Youngbao. Philip and Youngbao bravely made their way across the trestle bridge. The bridge creaked and groaned, but Philip and Youngbao didn't give up. They knew they had to rescue Alfie and Kelly. At last they made it across. "We did it!" cried Philip triumphantly. Both engines continued to look for Kelly and Alfie, but what they didn't know is that one of the rails of the trestle bridge fell into the abyss, so there was only one rail left on the trestle. Philip and Youngbao then came to a big pile of rocks. Then they heard a voice saying, Hello, is anybody there?" Philip said, "Alfie, is that you?" "Yes, it is," said Alfie, relieved. "Are you both okay?" asked Youngbao. "Yes, but we're stuck," replied Kelly. "Stand back, guys. We are going to push through to you," said Philip bravely. "Let's do this," said Youngbao. So Philip and Youngbao backed up as far as they could go. Then they whizzed their wheels and charged up the pile. Alfie and Kelly held their breath as the intensity grew. Suddenly there was a loud bang as the rock slide fell over. Alfie and Kelly were free. "Thank you, guys," said Alfie. We don't know what we would have done without you two," said Kelly. "Let's get out of here," said Philip, and so Philip and Youngbao found a spot where they could turn around and everyone's headed for the exit. But Philip suddenly saw a trestle with a broken rail. "Stop, everyone," he called, and everyone slammed on their brakes just in time. "Now what do we do?" said Kelly in doubt. "We'll never get out of here," moaned Alfie. Philip decided to try and think of a solution. He looked around and saw a metal pole on the other side of the trestle, and suddenly had a brain wave. "I've got it!" he cried enthusiastically. "You've got what?" said Alfie, who was confused. I've got an idea," said Philip. "We can use that metal pole over there as a makeshift rail. Alfie can drive over to the other side since he's small enough to drive on the gap, and take up Kelly's cable to help guide the pole into position if he has enough cable to do so, that is." "Trust me, Philip, my cable is very long, and I'm sure we have enough to tackle this situation with," replied Kelly. "You're crazy, Philip. You know that," said Youngbao, who was surprised at Philip's idea. "Yes, I know, but it's the only way," replied Philip, who was in doubt that his plan was going to work. and so his plan was put into action. Alfie drove slowly onto the bridge with Kelly's cable and slowly started to drive onto the narrow gap where the broken rail was. "Be careful, Alfie," warned Philip as Alfie slowly started to navigate the gap. Everyone was tense, hoping Alfie would make it across. Suddenly Alfie slipped, and one of his tires hung dangerously over the edge. "Alfie!" cried Kelly, shocked. I don't think I'll make it," cried Alfie in a panic as his wheel dangled over the chasm. "You can do it, Alfie! You can need that extra room in you!" cried Philip. Alfie gritted his teeth, gave his engine a mighty rev, and managed to get his wheel back on solid ground again. Everyone cheered as Alfie got to the other side, and his operator attached the rope to the metal pole. Slowly and carefully, Kelly winched the metal pole into position with Alfie helping to guide it. Now came the tricky part. "I'll go first," said Philip, who was a bit nervous. You sure, Philip? I think I should go first," said young Bell, who was worried for his friend. "Yes, I'm much lighter than you, and if the bridge starts to collapse due to your weight, I'll be there to help you." So Philip eased his way onto the bridge and onto the makeshift rail. The bridge creaked and groaned, and Philip wanted to go back, but then he heard his friends cheering for him. "You can do it, Philip!" cried Alfie. "Nearly there!" cried Kelly, who had made his way across before Philip. This made Philip feel a lot braver. The makeshift rail was groaning like a rusty submarine, but Philip pushed on, and with one last big effort made it to the other side. "Hooray! Hurrah!" cheered young Bell. "Way to go, Philip!" cried Alfie. Young Bell knew it was his turn and edged slowly onto the makeshift rail. Everyone held their breath as young Bell came slowly towards them. The bridge creaked and groaned, and young Bell thought he heard a crack, but the cheering from his friends gave him the courage to press on. Young Bell was nearly across when the bridge snapped and fell, leaving his tender dangling over the edge. "Young Bell! Young Bell!" cried Philip, and rushed to help him. Philip coupled up to young Bell and pulled with all of his might, but young Bell was very heavy, and he and Philip started slipping back. "I won't let you fall, young Bell," Philip replied determinedly. "Just save yourself, Philip, and let me fall," sighed young Bell, who was sure he and Philip would fall to their doom. "Just trust me, young Bell. I can do this," said Philip, determined to save him. Philip gripped the rails and gave it his all. Young Bell was slowly slipping back, but Philip wasn't going to give up. He gave it his all, and very slowly young Bell began to move to safety. But by now, Kelly and Alfie were shouting, "Philip! Philip! Philip!" This gave Philip the energy and courage for one last tug, and with one last big effort, Philip pulled young Bell to safety. "Well done, Philip!" cried Alfie. "Great job!" cried Kelly. "That was some determination and courage you showed there, Philip," said young Bell. Philip felt pleased with himself. He had finally proven he was just as brave and smart as young Bell. As the four friends exited the mine, the Fat Controller arrived. "I heard about what happened in the mine and came to see if you were all okay." "We're fine, sir," said young Bell. "Just a little dirty," said Philip. How did you manage to rescue them, young Bell?" "Actually, sir, I couldn't have done it without Philip. He was super brave and smart as well." The Fat Controller was impressed by this. "Philip, you are a really useful, brave, and intelligent box cab." Philip felt very pleased with himself. He had learned that you have to be scared before brave. That night, as Philip and young Bell watched the Lunar New Year fireworks display at Orstead Castle, as the fireworks dazzled and sparkled in the night, Philip said, Won't today be a tale to tell?" "Yeah, it will," said young Bell proudly. The end.